What's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Tuesday morning to you all. I hope everyone is doing well out there this morning, waking up and feeling fantastic out there and having a great week out there so far. Here to give you some updated information on what's going to happen weather-wise for your Tuesday. We'll extend this a little bit out into our Wednesday for certain sections of the country. You know, all in all, not a super active day. It's a pretty chilly start, a downright cold start for areas of the southeast, for southeast standards. We haven't quite made it to the freezing mark here locally in central South Carolina where I'm located, but it's deep into the 30s. So definitely probably catching some people by surprise who are just in the full spring mode, kind of like me, but of course I'm not caught by surprise just because I'm a weather guy. So, but definitely a wintry-like day across the eastern U.S. as far as temperatures. In the Northeast, Great Lakes region, definitely a snowy day. So it's certainly going to feel, like I said, more like a winter-like day than a spring day. The central and western portions of the country will remain pretty quiet today, but of course we will talk about everybody. We'll kind of zoom through this portion of the video, but then stay tuned for the second half of the video. We'll talk about what's to come. There's going to be multiple storm systems to track, basically between now and maybe the end of March, so there's going to be a lot to talk about upcoming. I do apologize for leaving you guys hanging last night. Just had something come up, nothing bad or anything like that, but didn't get home till like 7:30, 7:45, and I think most of you know my bedtime's about 8:30, so I would have definitely been staying up pretty late to pump out that video. Would have came out probably like 9:30, so just decided to let that go. But I will not have a video tonight just because of soccer, but tomorrow night we will get the ball rolling with multiple updates because there is some active times ahead. So with all that being said, if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So we are waking up to some rain on the southern tip of Florida, some heavy rain, but this will probably be cleared out by the time we get into probably later this morning. So that's the good news with that. We do have some snow drifting around out there across the interior northeast region, the Great Lakes region. Some of it is accumulating, some of it maybe not so much, but this will continue. In fact, it will get more amplified throughout the morning and afternoon hours as we are getting just later into those periods of the day, and this will certainly start to add up. And this will linger all the way into our Wednesday, all the way into our Thursday for areas of the Northeast. And I'm not talking about Boston, New York City, Southern New England, more so the interior Northeast. And the same thing will happen like in the UP of Michigan throughout the next couple days. So that's, what's going on out there right now. Like I said, the central and western U.S. pretty quiet. So let's move on to the Storm Prediction Center. As far as severe weather today, just a general risk of thunderstorms from this pesky upper low that continues to spin around, just kind of cut off, just lost out here in the southwest, been chilling in the desert for quite some time now, but this will just continue to bring a risk of some thunderstorms. Not a huge deal at all. No severe weather expected today. Excessive rainfall outlook below 5%, so there's no area that shows up on this map whatsoever, so that's good news, so don't have to worry about that. Definitely take advantage of these quieter days we have out in front of us, because like I said, I do think things are going to flip coming up. We got multiple things to talk about. And really, as far as watches, warnings, advisories, we got a lot of freeze warnings across the south where it's quite cold this morning, and then some winter weather advisories in the eastern UP of Michigan. I am pretty surprised there's at least not some winter weather advisories up for interior sections of the Northeast, like New York State, like the Tuck Hill Plateau, maybe areas of Vermont. Maybe they issue these later on today, but we're expecting definitely several inches of wet snow over the next couple days up here. So, I know that it takes a lot more snow for you guys' standards. The criteria is higher to meet that winter weather advisory criteria, and certainly a winter storm warning. But certainly think it warrants it, and we'll see if they'll issue some winter weather advisories up here in New York State later on today and surrounding states. But we'll zoom through this quick. The southeast pretty quiet, high pressure dominating the region. Definitely going to be a chilly day, especially the further east and northeast you work. We'll start off this morning. That rain will clear out in the southern tip of Florida, and we could have some thunderstorms that might fire up down here in the Florida Keys again, but I don't think it'll be a big deal. Getting into this afternoon, beautiful day, really beautiful day. Continues to be dry. Unfortunately, we do have a big-time low pressure that we'll talk about here in a second that will, snap us back to reality, get us back to that rainy Friday It seems like we have had a consistent streak of rainy Fridays over the last, I don't know, few weeks. And I don't think this Friday is going to be any different. We'll talk about that here in a second. But today, quiet weather. Nothing to speak on whatsoever. The Northeast, a little bit different. Got some snow drifting around out there this morning. But I definitely think it'll increase in nature out there as we get later this morning. Check it out up in Ontario, Canada. Snowing pretty good. Snowing certainly Lake Huron and the northern and eastern and northeastern sections of Lake Huron. And then this is going to feed down to the northern sections of Lake Erie and certainly all over Lake Ontario, kind of get amplified. And then by the time we get into midday today, we got a lot of snow shower and heavier bursts of snow activity ongoing in interior sections of the Northeast and really just New York State. And eventually, as we get into this afternoon around dinner time, a little before and after, give or take an hour, widespread snow showers and just light to moderate snow flying around out there in northern PA, maybe as far east as Scranton, Binghamton, some snow, the Finger Lakes region. Could mix a little bit, so with just temperatures that are not super cold, just because, we're getting into the later portion of March now. These snow showers will begin to drift into Vermont, Western Mass, potentially. And we start to get into this evening, and just a solid area of snow flying around across the southern tier of New York, Finger Lakes region, Syracuse, Rochester, maybe Buffalo. And we could get some snow as far southeast as the Catskills and the Poconos. It's very, very possible, maybe a dusting of snow. And we continue, to get into overnight tonight. Could get a little bit of snow that drifts all the way down here in the higher elevations of Maryland and West Virginia. And as we're waking up tomorrow morning, some snow showers around Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and it's still snowing in the Adirondacks. And we continue just to get this broad area of low pressure that's kind of just turning cold air down, and we'll do it all over again tomorrow, guys. This is about midday, early afternoon tomorrow. We still have just kind of wisping lines of snow showers, maybe some intense bursts of snow, maybe a snow squall. Check out this intense line of snow making its way across New York State. Kind of diminishes as it drifts southeast, and more just snow flying around, more of a consolidated area of snow up here in the northern half of Maine. But we go all the way out to about the middle of the night tomorrow night, and there's still snow shower activity, and we'll probably do it all over again Thursday, just because this low is just drifting around. It's kind of trapped in place up here, kind of swinging around energy. So between now and Thursday morning, a broad look at how much snow to expect. Everything's confined to the interior Northeast, but if you're a snow lover and you just didn't get enough of it in winter, definitely head into the interior Northeast, take a couple of days off, and you'll certainly see some snow in the Tug Hill Plateau, areas outside of Buffalo. Certainly some snow north of Binghamton, between Syracuse and Binghamton, a little bit of snow in the Green and White Mountains, and certainly a few inches of snow that's likely up in Maine. And then, if we can extend this all the way out into about Thursday evening, looks like a few to several more inches of snow adds up in northern Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. So, we kind of zoom into these individual graphics. This is the Cleveland area and surrounding areas and counties and states. This is between now and 8 a.m. Thursday. Maybe another dusting of snow in Cleveland. You head on up to the northeast sections, another 2.5 inches of snow in Erie, Corey, 4 to 5, Edinburgh. Around 4 inches of snow projected between now and the next 48 hours, basically. And then between now and the next, 3 days, this all goes all the way out to 8 a.m. Friday. Another 7 to 8 inches of snow is possible for Springville. Maybe a little area, maybe just north and northeast of Springville could get 8 to 12 inches of snow. About 3 inches of snow forecast for Buffalo, Tug Hill Plateau. Someone could get a foot and a half of snow, guys. These areas are certainly going to get hit hard up here, but even in these smaller towns and communities and in between sort of this favorite area right here and right here, you will certainly get appreciable snowfall totals for mid to late March standards. So we head on up to the Binghamton region. Maybe a half inch to an inch. Boonville, 5 to 6 inches of snow. Syracuse, a good 2 inches of snow. This is between now and 8 p.m. Wednesday. So still some more snow after this could fall. And just a little area south of Syracuse could get anywhere from 2 to as much as 5 inches of snow. Certainly possible. And then you move. They didn't have a great graphic for Vermont, so sorry to leave you guys hanging. They don't have any updated graphics, but New Hampshire and portions of western Maine, this is what it looks like. Augusta, Maine, 1 to 2 inches of snow. Rumford, 1 to 2 inches. Was that Rangeley, 2 to 3 inches. Jackman, 4 to 6 inches. Colebrook, 4 to 6. You get down to southern New Hampshire, not much, maybe an inch or less for like Concord and Plymouth inch or less down here. Just not a lot down here at all. We head on down to the south central U.S. Very quiet weather day. Nothing really expected. A little bit of shower activity could drift back into New Mexico, northwestern areas of New Mexico. A little bit of snow shower activity in southern Colorado, the higher elevations. But outside of that, very, very quiet weather day expected today. Tomorrow, we could have a risk of some severe weather and maybe a very small section of Kansas, Oklahoma, and then another separate segment, a little bit further south in areas of Texas. Moving up into the south central U.S., we do have a little bit of snow drifting around out there this morning. Not much of anything though, but as we start to get later into the day, not a whole lot going on. Low right in here, a lot of snow just on the other side, the Canadian side of the Great Lakes, Superior and Huron. But as we start to get into this afternoon, this is when we start to get more cold air getting pushed down. And, the flow around this low goes like this, right? So if the flow around this low is going, from the north, didn't mean to get a sounding there, then it's pulling down more cold air over what's not a froze over Lake Superior. So you continue just to get lake effect snow, even deep into March, guys. So, as we are starting to get into this evening, we start to get some steady, heavy lake effect snow bands to start to affect areas of especially the eastern half of the UP and Michigan. Could drift all the way into northern lower Michigan, but these continue all the way through the overnight hours. Could snow pretty heavily. Could go to sleep with not much snow falling, then wake up to several more inches of snow on the ground. We take it all the way into Wednesday morning. Steady bands of snow could shift more so into the western half of the UP and Michigan tomorrow, but still be snowing very heavily in the eastern half of the UP and Michigan. Some of these bands will start to get aggressive and make it all the way down into the lower Michigan. We could have some little bit of light accumulations from this, but we take it all the way out to about the middle of the night tomorrow night. We still got lake effect snow flying around the UP and Michigan. Certainly a more wintry week for sure. And then you can already see the beginning stages of a snow event moving in over the Dakotas, and we'll talk about that here in a second. Snowfall with this, though, between now and the next 48 hours, several inches of snow. Someone might sneak in a foot of snow with this lake effect snow event over the next couple days, and just a few inches of snow in northern lower Michigan. And taking a look at a better graphic from Marquette, really just the eastern half of the UP, this is the area that could sneak in. Some areas could get 2 inches of snow. Some areas could get a foot of snow. It just depends on where you're at. So this area right in here stands the best chance for several inches of snow over the next 48 hours. So the western U.S., it's pretty quiet. It continues to be relatively quiet, especially in the northern Rockies, the Pacific Northwest, where typically, or at least over the last several weeks, we've gotten storm after storm. And I think we do have some stormy times coming for the western U.S. But we get to this afternoon, once again, some showers are possible for northern Arizona. Honestly, getting tired of talking about this. We need to get rid of this system. It's you're getting boring now at this point, but I think, you'll take the rain when you can get it in the Southwest for sure. You go through some awfully dry periods, which are pretty common. But, just with the daytime heating, we'll get convection that fires up from this low that continues to slowly weaken out here. Northwestern New Mexico, the northern half of Arizona certainly could get some showers. Higher elevations, Flagstaff, maybe a little snow, very possible. And then we start to see the beginning stages of a light snow event in the northeastern sections of Montana tomorrow, where some light and moderate snow could begin to fall. And then as we get into tomorrow, we begin to see the increase of moisture. See the moisture beginning to move back into Oregon, Washington State, and I think this is kind of day one, which day one will not be very active, but we're starting to see the beginning stages of moisture starting to return. We're starting to see these storms in the south central U.S. Temperatures today, a pretty chilly day still across the southeast, 50s and 60s. This is chilly compared to what we've seen over the last couple weeks. The northeast, very cold. 20s and 30s for highs, some 40s closer to the big cities along the I-95 corridor like New York City, Boston. The Great Lakes region, still warm. We've kind of have a day of modifying temperatures before it cools back down, most likely tomorrow. But it still is not going to get cold enough up here in the UP and Michigan where it's basically not going to snow. So that's why you have those snow showers will get going later on this evening. Temperatures will probably remain at freezing, maybe slightly above it or slightly below it up here in the UP and Michigan. A lot of warm air in the middle of the country. 60s, 70s, surging all the way up into Montana and South Dakota. There'll be a tight gradient in the Dakotas somewhere where temperatures will drop off pretty quickly. The western U.S., though, guys, except this little pocket of cooler air right into here because of this lower pressure, everybody else outside this little pocket right here is well above average temperature-wise. A beautiful day in California, temperature-wise. Nice conditions in the Pacific Northwest. It's just downright comfortable out there for your Tuesday for sure. So let's talk about what's to come. Let's speak specifically on kind of very small section of the Rockies, the central U.S. Okay? And my folks who live out west, like a little bit further west out this screen, we're going to leave you hanging a little bit in this video. I do apologize, but we're going to kind of get more specific on all of this here in the coming days. But for the most part, you're going to see pretty much everything that happens on this. So we'll start this off Thursday morning, right? 2 mornings from now. Well, 48 hours from now. A lot of moisture starting to build up down here in the south central U.S. It could be in the form of rain or storms. We got this really small swath of snow that's getting going. We keep this going, all right? That kind of backpedals, and then we just get an all-out low. It's kind of a split flow situation, meaning the northern stream's active and the southern stream's active. Southern stream, northern stream. Further north, further south. Low develops right here with cold air on top. And you have the development of a low pressure down here, bringing some rains. Definitely too stable for any sort of widespread severe weather. Can't rule it out, but that significant risk of severe weather, don't think it'll be there, but we'll talk more on that here in a second. But check out this snow event that gets going into Dakotas. Could be, moderate to heavy in a very small section where South Dakota and North Dakota meet right in here. And then we get some snow that begins to move in the middle of the night, Thursday night to Friday morning into Minnesota. And yes, Minneapolis, guys. And we'll speak on this here in a second. We'll have a really cool graphic for you guys that are snow fans. And if you're not going to like this. But Minneapolis could make up for lost time for some snow in late March. So we keep this going. Check out the snow moving across the darker blues. That's moderate to snow. If you see any darker blues besides that, that's heavy snow. Northern Iowa seeing the snow. And then, this begins to move out of Minnesota. Still snowing in southeast Minnesota, snowing pretty heavily. And northern sections of Iowa. And then check out the snow. Is it going to be cold enough for snow in like Chicago as we're getting into Friday? I think it's very close. The European says, yes, it's cold enough for snow. And Milwaukee certainly is. This is Friday morning. Look at this heavy snow falling across areas of southern Wisconsin. And then this continues to head off into the eastern U.S. We will talk more on that here in a second in the eastern U.S. frame. But you see the snow beginning to move in into Wisconsin. And then look at the low pressure beginning to bring a lot of rain for the deep south as we're getting into Friday and our Saturday. And then after this is when things could get even more interesting. We're getting into Saturday morning. This coming Saturday morning, a stronger low pressure forms, a complex setup. We get a lot of cold air that gets kind of trapped, I would say, north and east of the Rockies. And you all of a sudden start to get a lot of snow into, let's back it up a little bit, a lot of snow into the northern Rockies, maybe central Rockies. A lot of weather into the Cascades too that I'm missing, I'm not showing, I'm cropping out here. But Montana starting to see light to moderate snow, widespread across the state. And then check out this big winter storm that begins to move into the Dakotas. And yes, there could be ice involved in this. Look at the pink and the orange, sleet and freezing rain. It's very possible across Nebraska, even South Dakota. Could shift a little bit further south into Kansas. But this is the middle of the night, Saturday into Sunday. The timing is going to be a little bit everywhere at this far out. But we start to move into Sunday morning, and this is a pretty big winter storm moving across the Dakotas. There's going to be an area of ice too, a lot of light snow across Montana. And then we start to move into our Sunday, middle of the day Sunday, an all-out major winter storm after you've already got a few inches of snow from the last event a few days prior, later this week, begins to move into Minnesota and then eventually Wisconsin. And yes, Minneapolis would be cold enough for snow, at least in the first half of this storm. And what does this low pressure do after this? Does it begin to move further northeast and eject into Canada in the Great Lakes region? Not sure, but it looks like you're going to have some sort of a jet dip right here. Basically a boundary is going to set up, like a cold front. And this is going to just sit here for a while, and you're going to have the opportunity for multiple low pressures to form off this boundary. So this low pressure begins to cut, switches what looks like it's about to be a major winter storm for Wisconsin, and turns you to rain, but that might not be exactly what happens. And then we start to get into next Monday. You get more low pressures that begin to cut. And every time you have a low pressure that kind of ejects off the Rockies and then cuts off the base of this trough, you get low-level moisture that gets pulled in from the south, the Gulf of Mexico. Therefore, you might remember, we start to bring in the ingredients for severe weather. But check it out, shows another snow event for Kansas, even snow all the way to the panhandle of Texas next Monday. And then wants to do something crazy. This would be a significant storm system sometime about a week from today that just basically moves directly over the middle of the country into the Great Lakes region. And then after that, it's getting past 7 days. We got a lot to figure out between now and the next 7 to 8 days. But shows more cold air kind of sagging into the middle of the country, and some interesting times potentially for south central U.S. But snowfall, let's talk about that. So this is the blend of all models. The National Weather Service forecast is not in range yet, but the blend of all models does very good. And there it is, that first round of snow between now and Friday, right? Brings a swath potentially of a few inches of snow. And let's show the northern plains too. Don't want to leave you guys hanging. Starts in the northern plains. Northern half of Montana gets widespread 3 to 5 inch snowfall totals. The higher elevations, obviously, maybe over a half a foot. Gets into the Dakotas, brings a swath of 2 to 5 inches of snow through North Dakota. There'll be a sharp cutoff on the north and south side of this. We're trying to figure out where that's going to be. Is it going to make it to what is it, Sioux City, Sioux Falls region down here? Not sure. And then we move into the north central U.S. and, there could be a pocket of 4 to 6 inches of snow, sort of right in the heart of Minnesota. Minneapolis could get 3 to 5 inches of wet snow from this. We'll have to see, maybe a little bit less. Little snow into areas of northern sections of Iowa. And then we'll show more of Wisconsin in the eastern frame. Okay? But watch this. Watch as we move past the Friday evening time frame. We start to get into the weekend. Now, remember, this is what we get from the first system. So we're not going to do the 12-hour increments. We're just going to add it all together. Watch how this begins to dramatically increase. I mean, dramatically as we get into early next week. And we'll take it about a week out. That's as far as we'll go. We'll take it all the way until, sorry, I'm about to sneeze, all the way into next Tuesday evening. So this is combined with what could be multiple storm systems. One we know is coming here in the next couple of days. And we know there's going to be a big one next week. We're just trying to figure out where the axis of heavier snow is going to be. But I mean, Minneapolis right in here, foot and a half snowfall total showing up from the blend of all models, which is a conservative model. And, there is a solid signal for a significant winter storm in this area. And yes, this does get into Wisconsin. And I'll show you guys in Wisconsin here in a second. I don't want you guys screaming at me. I got you covered. But, man, a solid storm signal for a late season winter storm, and maybe multiple ones. Remember, this isn't probably all going to be one storm, I don't think. So, big sign, for sure. We talk about severe ingredients, and we'll only look at moisture return. One thing I'm noticing is there's really a lack of big pool of low-level moisture far enough north. And I think this is because of a split flow that's really affecting the pool of low-level moisture further north. So we're getting into Friday. Moisture really confined to the south, but really this isn't a favorable low-level moisture for severe weather. I mean, you can get severe weather with dew points in the 50s. But it's definitely not supportive of widespread severe weather. So maybe some marginal days ahead of us. You start to get into Saturday, not much that I'm seeing. Okay, but then we start to get into Sunday and then Monday, and then we start to get this little slither of low-level moisture all the way up into the Midwest. You look at this right in here. This looks interesting. Next Monday for the south central U.S., maybe Louisiana, Arkansas, eastern Texas, which has been a favored area lately. We need to watch any sort of ejecting surface lows at the base of this trough. I could see this being a severe weather day next Monday for these areas. And then we certainly watch after that, but nothing really looks solid. And if you look at the Storm Prediction Center, this is for tomorrow. Little split flow action, bringing a weak severe weather event for the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma and South Texas. Not a big deal, though. And then we got a marginal risk for southern Louisiana and then southeast Texas and central Texas. Not a big deal, though. And then we start to get into day 4. Potential too low. Day 6, it begins to say predictability too low, which is kind of an upgrade from potential too low. And then it begins to discuss everything we just talked about a trough digging down, low pressures, things like that. So once we get into day 6, that is starting to get into Sunday, and then day 7 is Monday, which is the day that I'm really watching, if we had to call it pretty far out. Okay, what about the eastern U.S.? Okay, and my folks in Wisconsin, I left you guys hanging in the Great Lakes region. I'm going to include you guys in this. So let's back it up one day. Thursday afternoon, we start to see the rain across areas of the Deep South. We see the snow across Wisconsin. That same first snow event is going to affect Wisconsin, potentially bring some snow for Chicago, Milwaukee. I think could be a bullseye from this quick-hitting winter weather event. You're definitely not done with snow. This brings some snow for lower Michigan, southern Ontario, a little bit of snow up in the UP of Michigan. But then you got two things going on. You got an excited southern stream and excited northern stream. Do they merge? This is a tough one. We talked about this in yesterday morning's video. Are we going to have some sort of merging with these two storm systems? What we do know is there's going to be a lot of rain. No real severe weather from this. When you got a low just chilling in the Gulf, you need a low way up here in the Mid-South or something to bring that low-level moisture into the Deep South. This is just going to be widespread rain. Could be heavy rain with a strong coastal low. And then this continues. We start to get into late Saturday evening. Look at the moderate snow flying around across southern Ontario. Does it get cold enough for snow around Cleveland? Maybe not. Detroit, maybe a different story sometime Friday. And then we start to get some flirting a little bit with that southern and northern stream. And you start to see the moisture combined here. Low pressure here, if they combine, that means this northern stream is going to try to yank on this low pressure down here and pull it north. But there's enough moisture, enough cold air in the northeast to where this could be a pretty decent hitting winter weather event. Should I call it winter storm? Not sure. Late Friday night into Saturday morning for the Northeast. I mean, this is even trying to bring some snow to Boston, as we were getting into Saturday morning. Heavy snow up into Vermont, New Hampshire, and the Northeast after you've already had, at this point, a pretty snowy, wintry week, which is out in front of us. But check out how this low pressure now begins to feel the influence from the northern stream, begins to head north now. At one point, it was showing it just kind of drifting around, and it could get back to that, scenario. But this is bringing a lot of irritating rain. Our soccer game is going to get canceled again this Saturday. I can almost guarantee it. But check it out. As this system is kind of heading out, it's snowing up in Maine Saturday afternoon. This system rides back in, and then there's still just enough cold air all the way in southern New England that all of a sudden, Saturday morning showing freezing rain in southern New England, not a forecast, something to watch. But, a several hour, long duration freezing rain event actually suddenly is showing up for the Northeast. Now, the GFS has a different scenario with this, shows more of this low plowing into the Northeast and more widespread all kinds of winter weather into the Northeast. Okay. But, if something like this was to happen, this would bring a significant freezing rain event for the Northeast, which is not super common. And then we see that, you see that one winter storm that I said that could move into Minnesota. This becomes kind of a non-event for the eastern U.S. because it basically ejects all the way into Canada. But as another storm comes in behind it, this looks significant a week out from today. And this could bring that severe weather further south in a 988 millibar low, right here, right at the border of Iowa and Illinois. And then it can get kind of weird after that. It's you got a lot going on. You do. But rainfall, guys, all this up here is from that energy flowing around that broad low up here. Most of this is in the form of snow. And then look at the big rain bomb creeping up. And you see what's going on, right? You got this meeting up with that. Northern stream energy, big southern stream energy. This is coming up, and this is the blend of all models. And big rain event this weekend. A nasty weekend once again for the entire East Coast. And I mean, you look at this, guys, and that's widespread 1 to 2 inch rainfall totals all the way up the I-95 corridor. Could be more. And a lot of this, not all of it, but a lot of this is snow. And then we keep going all the way out into, let's go a week out. A lot of moisture begins to show up for this area of the country. So, you look at the blend of all models as far as snow. We started off Wednesday, tomorrow afternoon. You see all the snow up there from this energy rotating around that low. And then here comes that first shot of snow. You see it show up right here, bang. Wants to deliver a few to several inches of snow for the Great Lakes region. A little bit of snow as far south as Detroit. I mean, so more snow for the UP and Michigan, southern Ontario. And then this moves. Watch how the snowfall totals increase for the Northeast. This moves into the Northeast, juices up them snowfall totals. And then what happens after that? Here comes that next event. Look at how Wisconsin jumps up to all of a sudden this foot snowfall total for almost the entire state of Wisconsin, the UP and Michigan, between now and all these pieces of energy. A little bit of a signal down here in northern Illinois. The state of Iowa is kind of cut in half. Same thing with lower Michigan. So, man, some active times are ahead, guys. And, to kind of go back and look at the GFS with this system this weekend because it's the closest to us. And same situation, you got a lot of rain down here in the southeast. It pulls this low pressure further north, further fast. There's a little bit more of an influence from the northern stream. Therefore, a more substantial winter weather event as far as snow for the interior northeast. But, the Euro is a different scenario. Brings up ice into the situation. And then the GFS shows that same setup with the second storm. Check out all that snow that moves into this region. So a lot of active times ahead, I do think, guys. So, definitely enjoy the slower times. Are we seeing any super dangerous signal for severe weather? As of now, no. But I think early next week, maybe even Sunday at the earliest, there's going to be a couple bigger severe weather events. Now, are we talking about an enhanced or moderate risk or tornado outbreak? I don't know. But I definitely could see multiple slight risk days at minimum. I really could. So that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and y'all have a wonderful Tuesday.